Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Here I am with another question on share capital. What is the speciality of this question? That is, here premium is of rupees 3, which is callable with each and every call here, whether it is application money, allotment or first call. It includes an amount of premium. So these all are with premium of rupees 1, right? Total premium was rupees 3. Another thing special about this question is there is a point of calls in arrears also. There is a point of the calls in advance also, right? So here how this question is to be attempted along with one more point is there, that is oversubscription case. But here pro rata allotment we are not doing, rather we are sending them letters of regret. So first of all, that the company issued shares for 20,000 but the applications were received for 45,000. This is the case of oversubscription. Here I have told you that question is to be attempted for the number of issued shares. So question is to be attempted for 20,000 shares. As well in this question we have rejected excess. So in this case, as 25,000 extra share applications were given the letter of regret, that means they were given a refund. So first journal entry, what we have to pass over here is when we will receive the money, bank account debit to share, equity share application account. What we are receiving is application with on how many number of shares. Now I have told you question is to be attempted for 20,000, but with the first case, that is application, we receive for how many shares? 45,000 shares. So here the application money was received on 45,000 shares. The people applied for admission, that is for 45,000 shares with the application money, and later on we would give them their refund. So 45,000 share, how much total amount is payable? That is rupees 3. One more important thing to be notable here is 10 plus 3 share is there. What is first part of the share? That is the share capital. What is the second part? That is the premium. So in this case 2 plus 1 means first part is capital and second part is premium. Then there is a case of 3 plus 1. So first part is capital, second is premium. Then 3 plus 1, this part is also capital and second is premium. Now when I have to add this capital part, what happens here? 2 plus 3 is 8. So that means 2, 3 and 3 gives you a total of 8, where he says that second call has not yet been made. So we have called only how much rupees for? That is 8. So in this case we have called with full premium and not with the full amount of capital, rather called up is only 8 and 2 rupees are still pending. How much total was called on application money? That was rupees 3. So 45,000 rupees multiplied by 3. How much total amount the company have received? That is 1,35,000 rupees, right? So being application money received. Now second point is, I have told you equity share application is to be adjusted against which account? That is share application account. So equity share capital account is credited because we have to adjust it against equity share capital, right? Where it is to be adjusted equity share capital. But here we have the part for premium also. So which account is to be credited? Securities Premium account is also to be credited with 1 rupee, right? So out of total 3, 2 rupees is capital and 1 rupee is premium, right? But how many number of shares we can allot here? That is maximum we can give the shares to how many people? 20,000. So how many people can sit out of the 45,000? That is 20,000 people can come into our company, are welcomed in our company, and rest are not welcome. Rest are given letters of regret. That means we are refunding their money. How many shares were refunded their money? That were out of 45,000, 25,000 shares were given a refund with the full amount they have applied. They have paid us 45,000 into 3. that is 1,35,000. But we can adjust 2 rupees for capital on 40,000 shares, 1 rupee for premium on 20,000 shares, that is with amount of 40 and 20. How many shares we can allot to them is 20,000, and the rest shares 45 minus these 20, how many shares were given a refund? 25,000 number of shares were refunded their 3 rupees, that is 75,000. Now make a total here. The total of the both sides are equals to each other. Debit should always be equals to credit. I suppose you are clear with the point that what was done, 3 rupees was received, which we broke into 2 into 1, right? How many number of shares company can allot? 20,000 and 20,000 for premium. How many excess applications were there? 25,000. They were given a full refund of rupees 3. Now, how the next point is for making due of your equity share allotment. Equity share allotment account debit to equity share capital. Here also he says that there is a premium on your allotment. So securities premium, right? We have to make a due for your securities premium here with what amount? That is on 20,000 number of shares. Now dear, allotment can only be made to how many number of shares? That is 20,000 number of shares. Now the question is to be attempted for which number of shares? That is 20,000 number of shares. And here he says what? One shareholder holding 500 shares could not pay allotment, and one shareholder holding 1,000 paid full balance on allotment. So first 500 shares on whom allotment was not received is the case of calls in arrears, right? And second, on 1,000 shares on whom the full balance is received is the point of calls in advance. But the point to be noted here is what? You know very well, when school asks your parents to make a payment of the school fees, that is just a message received. Here allotment is also made due on how many number of shares? On 20,000 number of shares. Allotment is made due for 3 rupees capital and 1 rupee premium. 3 plus 1 total 4 rupees is called up here. So 20,000 into 4, 60,000 rupees total, 80,000 rupees total, called up 60,000 for capital and 20,000 for premium. So total amount is 80. Now when the call is made for asking the money on allotment, no pre-receive would be there, no calls in arrears would be there. When the money is actually received, there you have to make an adjustment for calls in advance and calls in arrears. Always dear, keep in your mind that this point of arrears and advance both have to be done in your received entry, that is bank entry, not in your due entry. When you are making a due for your any of the allotment or first call, nothing is to be done here for calls in advance or calls in arrears, right? So here in this case, for what amount we have made share allotment due? To share allotment, equity share allotment, we make a due for total sum of rupees 80,000. Firstly, we will do the point of allotment arrears. So there were few people who had not made a payment of your allotment. How many people they were there? That they were holding how many shares? 500. So 500 shares on which allotment is not made. Allotment is not paid. Allotment was total of rupees 4. Now keep in your mind again, I have told you that this first part is of capital and second part is of premium. So what is the allotment? First capital, second premiums, then total allotment is of rupees 4, right? So when one shareholder holding 500 shares have not paid allotment, how much sum he has not paid? That is 4 rupees. Total amount he has not paid is 2000. This is the point of arrears. Now on 1000 shares, the full balance was received. After allotment, how much balance is left? After allotment, first call and second call is left. On first call, total sum due is rupees 4, and on second call, total sum due was 2. How we came to know 2? This is 2 plus 3 plus 3 is 8. If total amount receivable is 10, then 10 minus 8, second call is with rupees 2, right? So he paid on allotment advance. When on allotment advance is made, advance must be for the first call and the second call. So how much is there? 4 plus 2, total advances of rupees 6 on how many number of shares? That is on 1000 number of shares. So calls in advance is received by the company. It becomes the liability of the company. So calls in advance account is to be credited because it becomes the liability of the company. The money is received in advance, like pre-received things. So how much is received in advance? On allotment, we receive the value of the first call and second call, that is advance. Like few parents in the month of the July, when the fees is asked for July quarter, make the payment for October and Jan quarter, then that would be the advance. What would be the advance? October fees, October quarter fees and Jan quarter fees. So here the first call and second call are in advance. So how much is advance? 6,000 rupees. Out of 86,000, when we deduct 2,000, how much is received in bank? That is rupees 84,000. So for the bank entry, you will make an adjustment for arrears and advance. When advance is received, it is credited. When arrears are there, then it is debited. So B, the allotment money received with the arrears and advance. Now the next journal we have to make in due for first call. Now the due is first call. The first call was of rupees total 4, right? So in the due entry we will write equity share first call. We will not write final because after this second call is still to be made. So second call would be your final. So equity share first call account debit to equity share capital account and to securities premium account, right? So here equity share capital should be taken with 3 and premium with 1 and first call with 4. So 4 rupee for first call, 3 rupee for capital, 1 rupee for premium. At what value we have to include? For 20,000 number of shares. So 20,000 into 4, the total is here 80,000. 20,000 into 3, that is 60,000. 20,000 into 1, that is 20,000, being first call due, right? In the due entry, you will not make any adjustment for arrears or advance. Adjustment would always be made only the receipt, that is where bank account is written, right? So here, when we were to receive the first call, what has happened here? Equity share first call, we made a due with the total of rupees 80,000. With what value you made it due? That is 80,000. So 80,000 we wrote here. Now the adjustments are to be done. Now think the person 1000 shares holding a person who has already paid you first call rupees 4 in advance will not make you the payment of first call again. So here calls in advance account is to be debited because earlier it was credited. Earlier it was credited here, now it is debited here because the advance is to be adjusted. When it was received, it was credited. When it is to be adjusted, we are debiting it. On how many number of shares it was? 1000 number of shares. What was the amount of first call? Rupees 4. You will not take full value because this is made up of 6. He made you a payment in advance 6, which was first and second. But right now which call is due? First call. So we will adjust only first call. First call was due with 4. So we make an adjustment for 4 rupees, that is with the value of 4,000. Now in the question he says that later on allotment were received on first call. Calls in arrears on allotment were received on first call. Whatever arrears were here, now on the first call they were received. They were received means received in cash. When they are received, you will write bank account debit to calls in arrears. So here we received our previous amount due. If it is received, then bank account should be debited, and which account is to be credited? That is your loss here was debited to arrears account. Now this account is to be credited. With what they were arrears? 2,000. So they paid what was arrear in there with their 2,000 rupees. The total here is 82 minus 4. So how much is received on your first call? That is 78,000 rupees, out of which we took 78 as a balancing figure, being first call and calls in arrears were received and calls in advance adjusted. Always remind yourself one thing, that when you have to pass a journal and you are confused, one account is there which is already clear in your mind. Like if I say that calls in advance are received, which account is fixed? Received means money is coming in, bank account is fixed. That means calls in advance account should be credited. When I am saying that calls in arrears are there, money is not received. Money is not received, we cannot debit bank. If we cannot debit bank, which account is to be debited? Calls in arrears account is to be debited. And retrospective account would be share allotment, because calls in arrears were on which account? Allotment account. Then when we are saying that calls in advance are to be adjusted, means money is not received. If money is not received, then calls in advance account debit, for which they were adjusted? For first call. The second point, when he says whatever was due for calls in arrears is now received. Received means money coming in. Which account is to be debited? Bank account. Which account is to be credited? Calls in arrears account is to be credited. So that's how you have to keep in your mind the things relating to the share capital. We will be discussing the further more points in the upcoming videos. Thanks for the day. Accountitude. Like, share and subscribe. Keep scoring.